Welcome back to Hannity. So last night, The Hill's John Solomon, he broke a huge story about Uranium One. And according to the memos that he obtained, the FBI informant at the center of this case gathered years of evidence on Russia's plot to control U.S. nuclear fuel deals, including the Uranium One deal. Now, Solomon has boiled down the newest revelations in a piece for The Hill detailing the 5 new revelations. Now, first, Russia saw its purchase of Uranium One as part of a larger strategy to dominate global uranium markets, including making the United States more dependent on Moscow's nuclear fuel. Great, it's our uranium. Next, Uranium One did export some of its U.S. uranium ore. Then, the FBI informant does have information to share with Congress about Rosatom's Uranium One purchase. Next, the FBI did have evidence that Rosatom officials were engaged in criminality well before the Obama administration approved their purchase of Uranium One. And finally, justice officials, well, they trusted Campbell, he's the informant, enough to keep him working undercover for 6 years and to pay him more than $51,000 once convictions were secured. Here with reaction, investigative reporter Sarah Carter, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett is with us. Sarah, let's start with you because you also had a piece. You call it a treasure trove now of information. I only thought it was 4 years. It's 6 years the informant worked for the FBI. But these were years long before CFIUS went ahead, the 9 separate agencies, to approve this deal, and we still import uranium. That's the crazy part of it. It's not like we have tons of it and we can, get rid of any of it.
Yeah, I think what's really fascinating, Sean, is if you look at what happened, he was working way back in 2008 for the FBI, but also on the counterintelligence side of it. So he was collecting information on the Russians way back in 2008. So when you look at that and you look at how it all added up together, all of that evidence, and now they're trying to say that Uranium One had nothing to do with the Mikarin case, it doesn't make sense and it doesn't coincide.
Okay, and then, Greg, we get to the heart. So what we have is a network. We have the hostile Russian regime, the hostile actor, Vladimir Putin. And so this is an amazing thing. We have to import uranium because we don't have enough. Right. Now, we know they're in the country in 2009. We know that they're involved in bribery, racketeering, money laundering, extortion. Right. Okay. And why? And we knew it was Clinton's guy, Putin's guys. Why would we ever make that deal?
There are so many lies associated with what the U.S. government did, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the Obama administration did. About this Russian criminal scheme before the sale of Uranium One. Thanks to John Solomon, Sarah Carter, and the thousands of pages of documents they've uncovered, that is simply untrue. Then they said, well, there's no correlation between the criminal acts and the sale of Uranium One. That is also untrue. And then they kicked dirt on the informant, saying he really doesn't know anything. My goodness, he has more than 5,000 documents. Yeah, and they outed him. You know what this is? This is our government at the worst, complicit in allowing a foreign government to engage in an illegal scheme that jeopardized national security, and then they covered it up, and they've been lying about it ever since. That is the government that is aiding and abetting criminality.
They sold out our security. That's going to be the criminality, or part of the criminality in all this that's going to have to be investigated. Sarah, you know the informant. You've talked to the informant.
Yes.
They outed this guy. This guy spent 6 years of his life. Tell us the backstory. He's accumulating this information, documents, emails, tape recordings, his firsthand experience. He sees what Putin's network is doing, the crimes they're committing. He's passing it on to the FBI director. Eric Holder, the Justice Department, the AG at the time, had to know, and we're told it was put in Obama's daily briefing.
That's absolutely correct. Think about this. there's a lot about this informant that hasn't been made public. I know that Victoria Tonsing, his attorney, is asking for permission to make more information public about him. But let's just go back to when he reported this to the FBI. He went voluntarily, Sean, to the FBI to give them this information. And then he was asked by the FBI and the Justice Department to not leave the job with Rosatom, to not leave the job with 10X, but to stay inside and help them build a case to investigate. So he was doing his due diligence, and he believed it was his patriotic duty to give this information to the Justice Department. Yes, he is absolutely 100%. I have spent months and months and months looking at this. And they paid him more than $200,000, Sean. It wasn't just the $51,000 at the end. It was $200,000 in reimbursements, which sources told me would have gone all the way to the top of the FBI. You just don't give that kind of money out.
So knowing that Putin is doing all of this, why would anybody sign off on that? And where did the money come from as we now look at the connection with everybody associated with Uranium One and the timeline and the Clinton Foundation and Bill's speaking fees? Does that timeline coincide with payments?
Yes, if you look at the payments, some of the payments, for example, the speaking fee, the $500,000 that Bill Clinton got from Renaissance Capital, it certainly coincides. And
Didn't Renaissance have a financial interest in this deal?
Absolutely, they had a financial interest in this deal,
and they're connected to Putin. Isn't Renaissance connected to Putin?
Exactly, directly to the FSB.
Wow, last word.
The informant's debriefing papers show that an entity close to the Clintons was receiving millions of dollars that went to their charity, and then, of course, later tens of millions of dollars to their foundation and Bill Clinton's wallet. Is it a quid pro quo? Is it corruption? It could be bribery.
If you're Hillary Clinton, are you worried tonight?
Oh, she absolutely should be worried, because as the
four people she hates the most tonight are Sarah Carter, John Solomon, you, and she's always hated me. Just hates me more.
Well, she has a lot to be worried about, because if she used her public office to confer a benefit to the Russians in exchange for money, that is pretty strong evidence of a myriad of corruption crimes.
Unbelievable. Sarah, when this informant goes before Congress, how soon will it be where the whole story will be told?
I think it'll happen right after he goes to Congress, Sean. I know that they're going to look at whether they're going to do closed-door hearings and open hearings, but I know he's going to be briefing Congress, and that'll probably be behind closed doors at first, and then there'll be public hearings. And I think that's going to be very valuable, very important for everyone. Everyone in our country.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should the Clintons be?
15.
I would definitely say 10 plus.
Wow. All right. When we come back, media's ignored this. We're not ignoring it. Another Democrat caught up in a major scandal involving campaign rigging. What is up with these people? I'll give you the details. Later, I also have a serious challenge for the executives, Andy Lack and others at NBC News, as we continue.